and I'll just play an intro. Okay, yeah. This is pretty awesome. I've got four Kiwis on live chat. I don't think I've ever had that one before. So welcome everyone. Simon, first, so grateful for you joining us. I know you've got a busy schedule ahead, MotoGP this weekend. So yeah, so pleased to have you on.
I'm happy to be here. I wanted to meet properly these Kiwi boys that are actually riding. I'm only talking about riding. They're riding.
And I've got our two Kiwi guys based in the UK. They're racing the Bennetts British SBK Championship, which is miraculously Damon and Shane up and running, which is it's so cool. So Damon and Shane, yeah, great to have you guys join us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Okay, I'm just sort of going to stand in the background, and I really wanted to have Simon basically have all his knowledge and experience in a racing career, which has gone over about 13 years. Simon, racing overseas.
Yeah, I haven't thought about exactly how long it is, but yeah, that sounds pretty close. Yeah, so I'm just curious, have you got some questions? I've got nothing prepared. I just jumped on and wanted to meet the guys and chatted, but you've got some questions like for me or for the guys?
Yeah.
How did you want to do it?
I'll just kick off some questions, and then Simon, it would be great to get your feedback on what the guys have got to say. I think probably first off, Damon and Shane, it is pretty amazing that they actually managed to get the championship up and running, and to see racing already round one completed at Donington, regardless of any little incidents that happened. Shane, I think it is pretty cool, and some good results. Damon, I think you blew us all away, and so maybe let's just start with that round one at Donington Park last weekend. Shane, perhaps we start with you. Some challenges, Shane. You have stepped up the class to the Super Sport, the 1,000. Challenges and something that you were pleased with over that first round.
Yeah, certainly. No, like you said, it's good they were able to get it going, and I think we're all had enough time to prepare, which was wicked. Obviously, for me, it was I wouldn't even say an up and down weekend as such, probably more down. I think that probably started from the test for me because I had the bit of a tip off there, which ended my day pretty short. So I just feel like I lost a lot of track time, and then over the course of the weekend, we had a little bit of mechanical issues, and whether that stemmed from my prior crash at the test or not, I don't know. But we just lost, a lot of track time over the weekend, obviously with the DNF in the first race, missing most of FP2, and then the water hose popping off in the second race, resulting in the high side. So it felt like a lot of bad luck along the way. But it's definitely nice to get out with the final restart at the end of the weekend and at least see a checkered flag, get some laps under our belt, and sort of, shake off the crash before restarting for SNET and next weekend.
Simon, maybe you could come in.
It sounds like a nightmare. Really, a nightmare. Because, sorry, your question.
Simon, you've been in these situations. How difficult is it to reset when things don't go to plan?
I mean, you can get over pretty quick, a fall and get back out on the next one. And the problem is, that races need every lap, to have, basically, if you lose a lap, you lose an advantage over the other guys that are getting it, you know, because every Mick Doohan always said that every lap counts, you know, because every lap you lose, you don't get back. And so to have a fall that puts you on the back foot, and then to have another problem, you know, like a hose come off and then a high sider, that it just puts you so far behind that it's super hard that weekend to catch back up, you know. That, yeah, total nightmare. I'm just curious, Shaney, I saw Damien was on a BMW. What bike? You on the same thing?
Yeah, exact same team, same bike, same everything. So I think it was really cool to see Damo do so well, to know the bike's potential and to know that, you know, there's no excuses on the team's behalf or anything. It's just down to me to get myself up there with them now.
And have some luck, yeah.
Okay. And Damon, probably going into round one, it has to go back to that final test where it was a pretty good confidence boost. You did find out like where you sort of stood with the other guys. Do you think that kind of like set up the weekend for you?
Definitely. I mean, the tests, I must say, like for probably 2 weeks beforehand, I was probably the most anxious and funny I've ever been leading into any sort of racing in my life, you know. I made the big jump to move here, and it was like, was it going to be worth it? Was I going to be ready for it? And like first session in the test, like I guess I had some sort of expectations. I wanted to be somewhere inside the top 15, and after the first session, I was 13th, I think, or 14th, right behind Shane. And I was like, well, it's a pretty good start. You know, we were both right near each other in our lap times. And then plus we'd only been to Donington once before that on the bikes. So, you know, all things considered, I think both of us were really good in the first session. And then the second session, we just made little changes throughout the whole day. And every little change made all the difference. I just got faster. You know, I picked up 1.1 seconds from my first session and my second session, and then the third session, which was a session I went really fast and I was fourth fastest. We put on a new set of tires and we made that last crucial setup change, which just gave me that last boost of confidence to go that little bit faster. And I think the test certainly set me up to go into the first round with that confidence, knowing, you know, after the first test, my first, you know, outing with the rest of the Superstock 1000 field, to be inside the top 10 was a positive start. And then I guess the whole weekend, it just kind of got better, you know, like Friday went pretty good. I mean, I was only 12th on the lap times, but 4/10 off first, you know, it's crazy. There was nothing in it between all of us. And then rolling into Saturday morning's qualifying, I kind of knew there was more in my back pocket, purely because I didn't really get that full lap of clear track that I really needed to in free practice too. So it was like one of those things that took the pressure off of, look at how fast I am on Friday practice. But, you know, qualifying, it was like, bang, and I was on the second row. So it was like, I think it certainly shocked a lot of people, you know, for me to be in front of, you know, the reigning Superstock 1000 champion, Richard Cooper, and some super experienced riders like Billy McConnell, who's a British Supersport champion. There was so many big names, and I managed to put myself within them. And then obviously the first race, it just meant, you know, getting off to a really good start and then putting myself in a good position to fight. You know, I was third straight off the start, and then, you know, managed to work my way past Danny Kent, the Moto3 world champion, and pulled away and even led for, you know, albeit one corner, but I managed to lead for a short moment in my very first race in the British Stock 1000 Championship. So I was like, okay, yeah, here I am. And, you know, all of the extra work that I put in to be here has paid off for sure. And then the second race didn't really go like the first race. It was a very different race completely, to be honest. It was a shortened race after the 2 red flags. But I got off to a good start, but I quickly, you know, within 3 laps, I was shuffled from 2nd to 7th. You know, there was nothing in it between 1st and 8th place. It was a 2nd. So it was so tight, you know, but I kind of regathered myself after being, I guess, pushed around, and then made that attack. And I kind of put my head down with about 4 or 5 laps to go, and I went from 7th to 3rd and I put in a really big charge to catch up to the leaders, Billy McConnell and Chrissy Rouse, the race winner. And, to finish within a second of those guys at the end of the race was pretty good, I think.
Oh, I have to say that's super impressive, And how many laps have you done around that track before that weekend?
Other than the test, we did one track day, Shane and I, and that was on the GP circuit. So it wasn't even the shortened national circuit with that small chicane.
I was going to say the lap times were super fast, so you had the shorter track, like going straight through onto the front straight.
Correct.
Yeah, but guys, that's amazing. That's amazing first event, unbelievable. I know all those names you're riding against, and they're all experienced guys. Most of them won championships, not just races. So unreal. You must be super proud.
I'm pretty happy. I mean, it couldn't have got off to a better start, to be honest. Like I said, it was just that extra bit of hard work that I put in than I've ever done in my life. I kind of, I've made the step to move here, but there's no point in making the move here without committing my body and my life completely. So, like, the diet went out the window completely compared to what I've ever done before. I'm on a completely different diet, shaved off a lot of weight, a lot of fat, and then trained my butt off. And like I said, I'm as fit and as strong as I've ever been. So I think it showed, in a 21-lap race, and I don't very often do longer than 20-lap races, to still be putting in, lap times that were only sort of 0.2 off what I did at the start of the race. So, consistency was there as well as, my fitness. So, yeah, it was a
and Donington's a real tricky one, isn't it? Like a lot of people have falls there especially when they first go there. It's one of those, a lot of off-camber stuff, easy to not just lose the front, but high side the thing. And
yeah. It's such a blind circuit. I mean, you've got going down Hollywoods and through Craners, and that was my weakest sector. I was quite often all weekend about 2/10. Everywhere else, I was roughly fastest or sort of second or third. But that first sector down and through Craners, I lost 2/10. I couldn't do it. But I think a lot of it I had to put down to the fact that I just don't have the track knowledge around here yet. So,
that's all
like I said, I've done no riding. So I guess I didn't want to stress myself too much about that, because if I could make up some more time, another sector.
You're wise not pushing in that area before you know it, because that's where the biggest crashes are, and that it'd be hard to come back from. And the other thing I notice is you, sorry to jump in, but Shane is having the reverse of you, like Shane's, I gather, changed bikes, learning how to ride 1,000, and the track, and you're turning out, how to ride 1,000, but you're learning the tracks. Is that right? It's kind of...
Yeah, correct. Yeah, Shane's had very minimal superbike experience, whereas I've spent a couple of 3 years now riding superbikes, so I guess I've had that advantage. But it's again, Shane knows the tracks a little bit better, that's for sure.
Well, this is so cool.
I wouldn't
Simon,
say too much better. They were only up. Yeah.
No, it's just like, like you don't. Sometimes, just on track day, you don't get time to talk in depth, and this is just an opportunity to go into a bit more detail and hear the guys' perspective, and also bringing in Simon's experience. Simon, do you think? Let's just go back to the whole mindset. To have that strength of character when you're going into something unknown, and you have those expectations. You did the same from New Zealand.
The feeling that I still have in my stomach that I remember the strongest is, I would say, Damo touched on it earlier, is the anxiety, because you're homesick, you've left everything behind, and it's super important to you. Like Damien touched on that as well. I'll put it another way. It was results were more important than my body, which is, I look back and go, I don't know if I agree with that now, but it's so important to you. And yeah, like I said, the homesick and no support around you, and it's hard, like I think mentally hard, because it's a completely different country, how it works, how people even think. You know, it takes a while to adapt, and it takes a while to build up your support system around you, you know, and make some friends. And every year gets a little bit easier, but those first ones are hard.
And maybe that's a good opportunity, Shane. I got to admire your tenacity. You know, you did racing in New Zealand, and then you went to America, and then that opportunity came up to move to the UK. They're pretty bold, decisive decisions to make. What is it that basically, you know, had uppermost in your mind that this was the best path to follow? Given that last year you ended up runner-up in the 600 class.
Yeah, well, the journeys to America, they were so last minute and so spur of the moment that you almost didn't have time to think before you're on the plane. You know, it was kind of just like, here's your opportunity, let's go. And so we did that, and the whole time was kind of a
well,
we've lost him.
I was worried about that. Being in a hotel, I thought that's going to happen to me.
yeah, sometimes it does.
You got me back?
Yeah, just.
And then yeah, coming to the UK, I had I got together with a British girl, and obviously I was looking at going to BSB anyway, but that gave me kind of like a foot in the door and a place to live, and you know, just like a normal lifestyle with a home and work and that kind of thing. So that was a big draw card for me, to just want that normality in everyday life, which I felt transpire across into the racing. So yeah, I got lucky with Peter Hickman, who put me in touch with Stuart from Astro, and you know, they kind of managed to put on a bike for me last year in Stock 600. So it was a really good way to come out and learn the tracks and learn the championship and learn the people and everything, for the intentions of this year being a bit more of a, you know, championship push, you know, being a bit more familiar with everything. So yeah, last year went really well, and it kind of solidified my choice to want to come here.
In your first year was in the UK, you got second in the Super Stock 600.
Yeah, that's correct. I came into the last race with a 19-point lead, and
I remember
ended up having
a
fuel pump blockage. So yeah, it was.
I mean, that's
really
super impressive as well.
I'm
sorry, guys, there's a delay on there. I'm super happy that there's two of you.
Everything that I wanted out of that year.
Sorry, carry on, Shane.
Here we go. Have we gone?
I think we got a big delay there. Big. Hey, I'll just throw in while we're getting him back that
yeah,
super impressive as well. I'm really proud these two boys, you know, outside NZ having a fight. You know,
it's been a long time.
Some boys,
that's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think what's probably another unique fact is both these guys are racing under the same team, which is awesome. Astro JJR racing, and Shane, you know, Damon has said, you know, you were key to opening that door for Damon for that opportunity. You know, was that of your own choice, Shane? Because you know, sometimes there's a bit of a rider rivalry, and both Kiwis. Tell us, you know, how did that come about?
No, I think it was like I really want to see more Kiwis get out there, and you know, in any way I can help, I'm more than willing to. And it just so happened that, like, obviously Damo was my biggest rival from back home. We've been going toe to toe for a few years now, and but the whole way along the way, he's kind of been like my best mate from the paddock as well. So, you know, he came over last year, ironically, to the Donington National Round, and met all the team and everyone, and I knew he was looking for, you know, to come over here and ride. So, at the end of the year when I was talking with Stu from Astro, and he was talking about plans for next year, and I sort of kept dropping Damo's name in and hoping to be able to open up an opportunity for him. So, no, I was really pleased. Like, I knew it would be really good for the pair of us. Like you mentioned, we're kind of the opposite in terms of me knowing the tracks and got a bit to learn on the bike, and Damo having all that bike knowledge, but just learning the track. So I think for the pair of us to work together, there's a good opportunity for, success in the coming, year or two. So, but yeah, like I said, I think it was just cool to get a few more Kiwis out there, and obviously knowing how hard it is to can help the better, really.
Andrew Stroud did the same for me. He got to Japan first, and the team there wanted another rider when it came to the 8-hour, because we had to have more riders in the team, partner up. And he put my name forward, and that helped get me out of NZ, for the first time. So, yeah, I really appreciated that.
You have to appreciate having rivalries to help you get overseas, especially when you're from the bottom end of the world, where it's like, Simon, it's so hard to make your way at the other end of the world when there's so many more people with such great talent and support behind them, and they're only in their own backyard. It's a big risk to take on, a couple of Kiwis, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. They'll be pleased though, and I'm sure they're pleased with your recommendation, Shane, from turn up and hey, one other thing, I was thinking about it while you were talking. I'll be honest, I would prefer to turn up to a track I didn't know on 1,000 I did, like meaning knowing what I was doing with it, than the other way around. So hang in there, buddy. Like straight up, the first time I got on 1,000, I knocked myself around, a fair bit. So yeah,
I think it's lucky that the BMW seems like such a nice bike that it doesn't feel like a big monster that's going to rip your arms out the socket. So it's actually quite a nice step, I think. It's like a big 600 to ride, which makes life a little bit easier.
Yeah, but there's some real fundamental rules that are different, and it takes a while, man. I'd be surprised if it didn't take you most of the year to really nail it. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that you can't nail it before that. It just takes some time. I don't know how Damien feels, but I'm sure he's told you, giving you some tips, but on the big bike.
Yeah, I completely
give some tips about the track. Sorry.
I completely agree. I mean, those superbikes, especially these BMWs, I have to say I'm incredibly surprised how good, like, out of the box they were. Like, we haven't really had to change too much. I mean, apart from dialing the electronics actually less and less and less to make them a little bit more rider controlled rather than electronically controlled. But they've got a very balanced chassis and engine, and to be honest, it's like Shane said, they're not a beast to ride. Compared to, I've been riding the Honda for 3 years now, the Fireblade, and they have less horsepower, but they're a beast to ride. Yeah, if you really want to go fast, you have to muscle the thing around it. And I felt like I've maybe had to change my riding style a little bit for the BMW, where I've got to be a little bit, more patient with it. But at the same time, it's not working me to the bone. So then it was also, we're riding on harder compound tires, so I've got to be a little bit more careful, as opposed to I'm used to riding on super soft or nearly qualifying tires that we're racing on at home in Australia, and coming over here and we're on a super hard endurance style tire. And
is that because of race distance or
supposedly it's because they wanted to extend the gap between the stock 1,000 class and the superbike class. Because the super stock 1,000 bikes had all of the electronics like wheelie control and traction control, whereas the superbike class doesn't. Whenever the superbike class, they had slicks, they were going just as fast as the superbike boys. So they kind of didn't want to embarrass the superbike riders, so they kind of wanted to extend that gap. So yeah, again, like going back to the tires, having to learn to ride on hard tires, so I had to be a bit more respectful of the fact that there's absolutely zero edge grip and zero rear tire grip. When you go to throw it on full throttle, it's gonna get buck wild pretty quick.
Yeah. Oh, the Kiwi running it till they're completely bald would have come in handy then. Yeah.
Yeah, we're pretty used to wearing them out. So yeah, I guess I've had that luckily on my side, and I've done some endurance races at home, so I'm kind of used to riding on the real hard tires. But it's certainly it comes in favour when you come from a broke little country like New Zealand.
Awesome.
Okay, awesome, guys. Let's just look at the competitiveness of this field. I think, Shane, you said to me, or you said in one of your chats, the going through midfield was so tight in comparison to what you did experience back in the 600 class last year. And Damon, do you find a huge difference in the level? And British, the National Series is not as renowned for one of the best superbike championships as a stepping stone up to perhaps WSBK. Simon, would that be correct? Yeah. How did Damon? How did you adjust to that different level of competition? And Shane also coming from last year.
I guess basically, luckily in Australia, you've got the top 10 in Australia, and they're incredibly talented riders. I mean, in the top 10 in ASBK last year, I think about 8 of them had Australian superbike titles to their name. So it was pretty hard to crack the top 10. So I guess I had that experience of being in a very deep, talented field. But when you come over here and, the top 15 are within a second of each other on one lap, as much as it's a lot when you look at it like that, but at the same time you sneeze and you've lost 3 positions. So you lose your braking marker or something, you've lost 4 positions. There's just you couldn't sneeze and make a mistake, otherwise you drop positions. So I guess it was a bit of an eye opener, but I guess I was lucky in that respect that I didn't have to come from the back of the grid in the second race like what Shane had to because of his first start of the race mishap. So I guess I was lucky that I didn't have to fight my way through the paddock and deal with so many riders being so close to each other, and it doesn't really give you a lot of room to fight your way through the paddock when you've maybe got a little bit more like Shane would have, but it's so hard when the front tire to rear tire, it's pretty hard to find a gap. So I guess I was quite lucky in that respect that right up the front there was about 7 or 8 of us, but there was a bit more room between us rather than back in 10th to 20th, there was nothing in it.
Yeah, Shane?
Yeah, I found it as quite an eye-opener. Obviously, with qualifying, I qualified in 13th, and I was only 16th off pole. And then that first initial race start in the middle of the pack, it was just like, it was so bewildering as to what was going on. There's just people just argy-bargy everywhere, and you can't even see asphalt in front of you. It's all just bikes and tires, and you're hoping you're online because you don't fully 100%, confidently know where you're going down Hollywood into Craner and stuff. And then, it seems to be that kind of class where there's no holding back on having lunges at people. So then everyone's having a good go at each other, but then you've got the big knock-on effect of, everyone sort of having to brake check one another. And so it's just crazy. It really showed me that, which obviously already, but how crucial qualifying is to get up on the grid and just be able to get as much clear track as you can to be able to run those early laps with enough pace to stay clear of all that kind of trouble.
Simon, your thoughts on, well, perhaps just the competitive nature of the British National Series. You're at MotoGP, obviously, but you have had that experience of the peers of the sport.
I'd like to throw in what went through my mind when Shane was describing how close it was, and also Damien, how they're just, so close. What I found is when you're riding the stock classes, that it's normally always like that in the, in the bigger countries, because I'll take one step back and tell you, like, I remember teaching, it first made it clear to me that as I was coming through the classes, the higher up you got, meaning the high, once you got superbikes and then world superbikes and then, GPs, the some of the people don't figure out how to ride them. So there's less people there to fight, But when you're riding stock classes, everyone knows how to ride them, you know, and so it's really competitive. So I'll put it another way. I just thought of it before, teaching a young guy in the UK, actually at Snetterton, and he could ride pretty well. He was going really fast like as fast as I could go on my standard Suzuki. I was like, and thought, you know, his dad said to me, "Is he good?" And I went, "He can ride that thing. He's going really well. He's learning fast," and you know, and I thought, oh well, he hired me to come back a month or so later, come back and did the same again, and he splashed out and bought a proper BSB bike off Honda UK, an ex-Leon Haslam bike. So this was a few years ago. And the young fella went a second slower on it. Yeah. And it's because they're professional tools and harder to use, you know, like any really specific tool for a job is harder to use than the multi-tool, you know. And I know that I'm not being unpolite about Super Stock 1000. It's an awesome class and the bikes are so good now, but the gearboxes in the super bike is all the gears are all closed up, so you're just dancing on the gear lever. It's like burr, 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 burr. The suspension's so hard, the thing's more unforgiving, but when you know how to ride that, they are better for that job. So all I'm saying is that's why Super Stock 1000 is brutal competitive. You know?
Yeah.
Sorry if I've left my phone wander around there. I wasn't.
It's probably a really great point. Like Damon, it just completely takes me back to motocross, and you're sticking on your 125, your two-stroke, and staying on it and staying on it and staying on it before you make that next move up to your 250. There are foundations that you lay, which basically put you in stead for your future. And obviously, you know, this is what you guys are doing. Let's just move on to Simon before we move on to the next round, like a preview. Is there any suggestions or any little pearls of wisdom, perhaps, that
where is the next round?
It's at Snetterton.
Yeah, it's at Snet. So
okay, which is not too bad a track. Have you been there, like you have, Shane? Have you been there, Damien?
Yeah, about a month and a half ago, Shane and I, we did a day test there. So
cool.
Lucky I've got some knowledge of the track, and I put on a GoPro on the bike as well. So I've kind of given myself an idea of what sort of gear changes and little things here and there that I don't have to think about when I first roll out in free practice.
It's always so hard on a track day, though, isn't it? Because you've got all extra chicanes of just trying to avoid people on track with you.
Yeah.
No, totally agree. It's not going to be one of the nightmare ones, I don't think, because the infield will be more like Taupo or something. You'll be able to relate it to, you know, a bit faster straights and stuff. But it's not. I think the hard ones will be like, I'm sure Shane's already told you, the ones like Alton Park and Cadwell and stuff. They'll be a bit more of a handful to learn, you know. And like I went. I can't remember now, but it was more than a second faster the second time back to Alton Park than the first time, and it's just one of those tracks, you know, that takes more learning. Like, but yeah, it's so hard to be the balance between being super hungry. It sounds like you guys are doing all your homework right, you know, preparing yourself and training and eating and the right thing, and you're determined. I think the hard thing is that balance between of risk, you know, how much you know what I'm saying, you don't want to hurt yourself and not better to go to the next race or finish that one, but you know, it's such a fine line between that and not being competitive, isn't it, you know, in a class like that. So
you certainly have to bring your A game.
Yeah, especially
in such a short season now too, where every point counts.
And the teams, like, you don't have to worry about gearing or anything. The teams know when they go. Have they got the experience of that, or you've got to figure it out yourself?
I would say we're probably more figuring it out ourselves. Like the team had run BMWs in Stock 1000 before me coming on last year in the 600s. But it's kind of just, I suppose, a bit of a refresh, and really on the thousands, you don't have to change too much, do you? Like, it's not big dramatic changes from track to track we've found so far. So we seem to be
no, I'm just saying good, really. It'll make it easier for you guys if the team know enough to give you a good base to turn up to the track that you're learning, you know, especially for Damien. No, both of you, because you don't know the bike. So if they can give you something that's in the ballpark, I think that's where riding for a good team comes in, doesn't it? You know, they can give you something really close to start, because the weekend's pretty short, isn't it? The amount of time you get. And so that's what I was really curious about, how you felt there, you know, whether the bike was pretty close.
They've been pushing quite hard to get us on track days before we get there for the race weekend, so we could kind of, you know, get those basic things down packed and ready. And, you know, like you say, because it's so short on the race weekend, you got 2 25-minute practice sessions and then a qualifying, and then you're into it. It's not a lot, is it?
No.
Yeah, I have a feeling Richardson will go pretty well. I mean, like I said, with Shane and ours test the other month, we both went pretty well, all things considered, with the moving chicanes of the other track riders. I think, yeah, like you said, Simon, it's actually, especially the infield feels very similar to what you would get at home, Taupo and Ruapuna Christchurch. You're feeling pretty at home there. I mean, the fast and the slow as well. So it's certainly nothing like Donington, but I don't feel like it's going to be one of those tracks to learn, like you were saying with Alton and Cadwell. We've been to Alton. No, we haven't been to Alton. We've been to Cadwell twice, and that was a pretty tricky track to learn. But I believe once we've been to Alton, it'll definitely make all the difference. At least do one day there before going to the race meeting, because it's, as everyone who says that they go there, especially like you saw Scott Redding, his first race meeting there, he really struggled. Even though the caliber of rider, he still managed to get himself inside the top 5 in both races last year. But he certainly struggled all weekend just to kind of get himself in that ballpark. But come race day, he was ready to fight his way through the field. And obviously he had a really good package to fight through the field to come from, say, wherever he qualified in the top 10, maybe 10th or whatever, to fight himself into the top 5. So, yeah, I believe once you got that base on the bike and you've got a good feeling with it, it's once you learn that track a little bit more, you learn as much as you can from the guys who know the tracks, you can pick up so much.
Yeah, following, you mean?
Yeah, totally, yeah.
Okay. I'm just going to put in a couple of, got some comments here, guys. Just some positive feedback, which is pretty cool. And I got a question, Damon and Shane.
Well, depends on how the New Zealand borders are looking when we start to come home in December.
One guy here, go Kiwi.
Hey,
yeah, I'd say much the same. I think at this point. Oh, sorry.
And awesome chat. So yeah, awesome, eh? Well, this has been brilliant. Simon, awesome to have you. Like, seriously, your knowledge, just the way that you can relate to the guys is worth gold. And for sure. Sorry.
I've really, I wanted to do it, you know, to meet, because I haven't really had a chance to meet these guys. So it was an opportunity for me to have a chat to them, kind of everyone watching us, but still good to get to chat with them. And, you know, it makes it more interesting for me to follow them over the next months. So great, my pleasure.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah, it's definitely generated some interest. Just that one posting on Facebook, 5,000 views. So
I grew up with obviously racing against Damien's father, Tony. You know, we met each other. Tony and I, we met each other at trade school and meaning motorcycle mechanic school. And I was kind of a bit of a homeless dude, just down in Wellington going, oh, no plans. So Tony took me home for the weekend to meet his girlfriend and your mum, obviously.
Yeah.
And so we've known each other from then. We had to be, I mean, I must have been 15 or 16. So, you know, less than 17, sure. So, yeah, it's pretty awesome to see his boy out there doing it. You even sound like him.
Well, yeah, I guess growing up around him, yeah, you kind of pick up a few things being an offspring, eh?
And he was fast, as you know.
Yeah, very talented.
Shane, you sound as if you've picked up a British accent.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. If everyone's cool, we can do.
I have, yeah. You kind of adapt to the surroundings, then, yeah.
We can follow this up after round 2. If that suits everybody. Yeah, it's definitely it's it's a super opportunity to just talk and get a dialogue running, and bring in the fans and listen to all you guys share thoughts. So many thanks everybody, and all the best, Shane and Damon. Round 2, August 14 to 16, I think we've got.
Yeah.
Yep. And Simon, thanks for joining us, and let's pick it up after Snetterton.
No, stay safe, guys, and best of luck. I'm happy to join you next time. It's I'm in Austria. It's pouring with rain. Forecast is really bad for the GP this weekend. Fingers crossed they're wrong. So,
Yeah.
But my pleasure joining you.
Okay. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, Simon. Cheers, Shane.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, cheers.